So we've reached quorum. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is 4 p.m. Friday, May 5th, 2023. Special meeting invite. I will read the land acknowledgement. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of First Nations, such as the Hadawin-Darronk and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississauga Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. City of Thorold stands with Indigenous people, past, present, and promoting wide stewardship in the lands in which we live. So I'm going to ask if there's any declarations of interest. I see none. Okay. Adoption of minutes. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes?
Sorry, just the agenda, not the minutes.
Sorry.
There's no minutes.
The agenda. Apologies. I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda.
I will.
I have Tony as a mover and Jeff as a seconder. So I'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? And it's passed. So we have committee business 5.1. Discussion of the Thorold Pool opening date. So Stephanie had mentioned in the last meeting that the pool was fully staffed and it's anticipation the date is going to open on time. I went home, told the great news to my family, and the first question that they asked is, why is it open so late? And then I started to ask myself the same question. I figured that the pool's heated. They have the staff, maybe to see what they can do. So Stephanie went back to Stephanie went back and asked the question if it was feasible to ask the city staff if it was feasible to do so. And they did mention that they could probably open it early as the 16th. So I just want to call a quick meeting to put the motion on the floor about directing council to ask city staff if we could open the pool earlier than the anticipated June 26th date. So I put the motion on the floor. If I can get a mover and a seconder, I believe and we have Joe as a mover and Tony to second. So I will call the vote. All those in favor?
I'd like to ask a question if I could.
Sure. Yeah, I'll leave it open to leave the questions open.
Stephanie, I assume that by June 16th, it's late enough to get staffing for this. I guess my question would be, this I imagine is mostly a question of funding. Is that it?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Tony, that's correct. So we are provided with a certain amount of funding each year, which is budgeted to open the pool for, that includes lifeguard wages from the last week of June to Labor Day weekend. So we would have to, in our report to council, add the additional budget to open it a week early. Also, I just do want to preface that we're optimistic about being open on the 16th. That being said, if there's any major mechanical failures that we're going through right now, or if we have to make any repairs, we normally have the pool ready by mid-June so that it has all of it's essentially ready to operate, whether or not it's actually in operation, just in case there's any mechanical malfunctions while we're opening. Just with the timeline, as long as there's no mechanical issues, we would be able to open on June 16th. I just wanted to add that.
Do you have a source of funding for the balance, or is this going to be a budgetary overrun?
We would have to speak with finance as to whether or not there's another budget that we could pull from to accommodate this request, or if they'd want to pull it from the reserve. So it could be either.
But how much of the extra cost would be covered by admissions?
It wouldn't be very significant. For some reference, our entire budget for the year is approximately $120,000 for staff for lifeguard wages, and our total revenues, including swimming lessons, is around $45,000 to $50,000, and most of that is through swim lessons, not through admissions, because our admissions are fairly affordable.
Right.
So we don't necessarily offset the cost of operating the pool through those.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any other questions? So I have a quick question when you're mentioning the costs. So the pool's already going to be opening, functioning, operating, testing. So none of that stuff's going to like add to the budget. The only thing that's going to add to the budget is the wages of the lifeguards, correct?
Correct. There might be some minor operational things, like we might have to put in a bit more chlorine than we were anticipating, but it would be very insignificant.
Okay, so
Most of the bulk is the wages.
yeah, so how much is like what are those not like weekly? If you say it's like $120,000 for the summers, like the budget, what are we looking at for, you know, the lifeguards' wages for an extra week or like
For a modified pool
roughly?
schedule, it depends on the hours of operation, but if we're looking at a comparable schedule to our June 24th to July 2nd schedule, which is also modified because we don't have swimming lessons or daytime programs, it's going to be anywhere between $5,000 and $9,000, just depending on how many hours we're looking at. So for example, if we just did public swim during the week for a few hours, that would be, and a little bit on the weekend, that would be 5,000. But if we wanted to look at doing our full evening program with our lane swim and possibly a 55+ swim, then we're looking closer to in a full afternoon on weekends, then it's closer to the 8,000 range. But I could bring a report to council with a couple different options.
Okay, because I think they're going to want to see that just for themselves to digest the costs that would incur with opening it slightly earlier. Okay. Is there any other questions relating to the pool? Okay, so, oh, yes.
Yeah, can
Bob.
I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just curious, those numbers you gave, I'm just curiosity, is how much is that per day? As if it was fully staffed, afternoons and evenings, how much is that a day? And how many lifeguards is that?
Sorry, I was on mute. It really depends. Generally speaking, our full operating costs, our full operations for the pool is one customer service staff and 6 aquatic staff. The 6 aquatic staff consist of a combination of supervisors and staff, or like lifeguards. So they have a little bit of varying wages there, but in order for us to be at full capacity for the pool, we need to have 6 staff on at minimum for full operation, and that includes the slide. If we wanted a modified operation, so for example, if we were to close down the slide and we were to be a little bit and we were to limit numbers into the pool, we could operate it at 3 or 4 staff. The reason for that, and for any of those who have not seen our pool, is it's very angular and we have a lot of different blind spots in the pool. And we also have the slide. So for a standard pool, you can have like a regular rectangular pool. You can operate that on 1 to 3 lifeguards efficiently. But because of our pool, because of all of the blind spots and because of all the extra amenities we have, it takes additional staff in order to make it safe. So it's just kind of the layout of the pool. But like I said, I could bring a few different options, you know, slide closed, slide open. If we wanted to do however many hours, we could have a few options there.
Oh, no, okay, that's fine. I was just curious because I spent all my high school and college time as a lifeguard.
Yeah, it's a very odd pool.
They make a
see
little
how
bit
that-
more money now than they did when you were in high school.
To tell you the truth, I'll well, actually they did, but it was funny. Lifeguards got paid a little bit better than the actual just ordinary staff. Now that's in the St. Catharines area, okay? And a funny story is they were on strike. The city workers were on strike, and we got retroactive pay to the lifeguards because we came underneath within their, I don't know, their umbrella. So we thought, hey, great. I don't mind the extra money. But no, but I can understand her point of view that
Mhm.
the shape of the pools will determine the number of staff that's needed. Yeah. No, I'm just curious. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Yeah, I posed the question because every year at the beginning of the summer, and we're all sitting there like, oh, we want to go to the pool, and then it's like we drive by and the pool's there and it's full, and it's like, you know, it's heated and you could just go jump in. It's like, but it's not open. And we did lose quite a bit of time over the last couple of years with the pool, just due to like the restrictions of how many people could be in the pool at a time, how you had to register to be in the pool. There's a lot of things over the last couple of years that a lot of people maybe didn't use the pool as much as they would have just because of the restrictions that were involved. So now it seems like everything's fully open, you're fully staffed, seems to be working properly. To me, I mean, that's where the question comes. So if there's any other questions, Marcia.
I have to wait for the lawnmower to turn off. For if it does move forward, Steph, can I make a suggestion that you guys keep track of the numbers of how many people actually attended and came to see if it was a viable success or not? Because we often forget to do that when we're doing projects. So that might be a suggestion. If it does move forward, keeping track how many attended, how many staff we had to pay, and then next year make an easier decision.
Yeah, since we've implemented ActiveNet, all of our numbers are tracked for all of our programs, so that won't be a problem at all. We can definitely bring that forward to the committee.
Perfect. I guess we can compare that number against like any regular number during the week, right? And get an average of, you know. Okay. I guess weather's going to have a lot to do with it as well. So, I mean, if the weather, you know, doesn't cooperate that week, or if it does cooperate, I mean, there's lots of other underlying factors. Joe, I see you have a question.
Just an almost an aside on what you just said. Not that I'm terribly superstitious, but I refuse to put my snowblower away until the 24th of May. Anyway, what I was going to suggest is that we ask for two things. Well, ask for full opening, take what we can get, and based on the numbers that come in, consider the 16th to be the opening date for next year.
Or earlier.
Or Tony, that you're reading my mind, because I mean, we sit here and every year and it's like, oh, the pool's we just wait and you wait and you wait, and then all of a sudden it's Labor Day weekend, there's no more pool, and it's, you know, I know it's a little harder to extend further because a lot of the lifeguards are, I believe, either university or college students or some to some degree, but do we know those numbers, Stephanie? Like, what would be the odds that the pool could stay open after Labor Day weekend? Like, based on the employees and what they do, or
only a week?
Like I said, well, I mean, we have quite a few students who are
live
local,
in the area,
who are going to Brock, or they're going into high school or whatever. It is always a risk, especially since some of them are transitioning back to indoor facilities like Kiwanis. But that being said, I think that as long as I think it's what your expectations are. I think the expectation would be that it's going to be a modified pool schedule and reduced hours and reduced services. So probably like the slide wouldn't be open all the time, but maybe we could say like the slide won't be open during the week, but it'll be open on Saturdays from 2 to 4. Like it could be about, it's just going to be a bit modified. I would say it's feasible. I have staff who like to stay on late to clean. They're always asking me, oh, can I come back and clean? So, I mean, I think it's feasible to have them modified. I think that's definitely a possibility. I think it's definitely the budget is where the piece we would need to get approved. So,
well, let's see how, I mean, obviously let's put this forward after a vote if it goes through to council. But it's something to keep in mind, like we can track this week, as Marcia mentioned, and then maybe use as some sort of bullets or some firepower at the end of the year to say, hey, people enjoyed the pool a little earlier, maybe they'll enjoy it a little bit later as well. But obviously it all depends on the numbers and the budget and how much money they're putting forward to the pool. So
sorry, I was just going to say too, I'm going to add, there is also a factor. It's not necessarily a make or break factor, but the pool aligns with our arena schedule. So our operations staff for the arena transition to operations staff for the pool during the summer. So that would also be one other factor. Now that we have Canada Games Park, we're not necessarily it's less likely that we're going to do an early arena opening, which means that they might have a bit more time to close the pool.
Okay.
But if it was ever the case that we had to close the pool and open the arena at the same time, that might be a factor. So
Yeah.
It's not a make or break, but it's just something that we would have to look at as staff.
Okay. Yeah, I remember I worked at the city when I was about 18. I was watering flowers in the city truck, and everyone who worked at the cemetery, well, not everyone, but a lot of people would be transitioning from the cemetery to the arena, from the public works to the arena, back and forth sort of thing. So we do sort of, there's a lot of overlap with those employees. So, but now, like you mentioned, we have the Canada Games Park and we have one arena to reopen. So who knows? Okay. Any other questions? No. So the motion's there. I'm just gonna, it's all those in favor? Oppose and carried. Sorry. Great. So the next meeting will be scheduled for June 5th at 7 p.m. and there's no further business to this. This meeting will be adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.